Good morning, I'm Ferdi Salvador. Welcome to Industry Beacon, where we shine a light on the trailblazers, the disruptors, and the leaders shaping our future. And in each episode, we explore how they're staying ahead in their fields, one industry at a time. This morning, we talk about the business of interior design here in the Philippines. Over the years, the industry has grown significantly, driven by rapid urbanization and an increased demand in aesthetically pleasing spaces. As more Filipinos put a premium on their personal space, how can the industry continue to innovate? Joining us now is one creative mind, interior designer par excellence, Cecil Ravelas. Hello, Cecil. Thank you so much for joining us here on Industry Beacon.
Thank you, Ferdi. Thank you for inviting me.
Yes, I'm excited because you are the open secret of a lot of top families and top corporations when it comes to interior design. And you've been at it for some time. How long have you been in the industry?
Wow, 20 years.
20 years. And how did you start?
Well, as a young designer, I was doing odd jobs. I worked for a firm before. I was working with Raymond Gutierrez. That was in the 90s. And I
Not
was
the actor.
Yeah, of the Sari Sari group.
Mm-hmm.
And then, I got into retail. I was doing visual merchandising. And so that was really fast-paced. I was doing shops, events, parties. When you're young, whatever project falls into your lap, you do it. But also in college, I was very much involved in theater work. So
okay.
My creative work has been very fluid. I do interior design, but on the side,
design,
I do set design, exhibition setup. So like literally overnight setup.
Yes.
To do exhibits in the World Trade Center. And so for a few years, there was a time I was doing Christmas decor. So
wow,
I was doing everybody's Christmas setup in our village where we were staying. So I knew everybody's Christmas decor, and like, okay, I pack it for them, and then I started working with titas, so aunties. And so, okay, you buy this when Christmas decor's on sale. You buy this, so that next
guys.
year, yeah. So next year. This is what we're going to do. So for a time, I was doing Christmas decor, retail merchandising. So to this day, actually, when I see Christmas decor, oh my God, I don't even.
There's a trigger.
There's a trigger. I don't want to do it now. But until recently, during the pandemic, I started doing Christmas decors again for myself and some select clients. But this is an
interesting experiment or experience because you then dive deep into the personal spaces of your clients.
Yes.
You know how they function in the more personal manner. So
correct.
You know how to create their spaces via taste, via their colors, their mood even. Yeah. This is why you've been established 20 years back to be where you are at the moment, right?
Yeah.
Because, let's admit it, okay? Not a lot of people know this, but there are superstar interior designers, just like there are superstar fashion designers, right? And of course, architects, which you work with all of them.
Yes,
so, and you're one of them because, big companies fly you all over the world to check out the latest innovations in their products, even asking you for design consults, right? So tell me, what has been your biggest project so far that you can mention, huh?
I guess what I can say is the most recent. So I've been involved in the project of the First Lady, which is the La Peral Mansion. So when they restored it, there were about 18 designers that were selected, and I happened to be one of the list. And we drew lots to choose, a personality. And so I was tasked to do the room because the theme was really to do the rooms of the past presidents.
That's an honor.
Yeah. So I got the Rojas room, and I had to do a bit of research and see. And then, so he was a lawyer. He was a staunch. He was fighting for the Filipino identity during the American period. So when I was doing the room, the challenge was how do you bring out all of that at the same time because it's a guest house.
Yes.
it should be something that will appeal to the guest. You know,
But
it can't be too personal.
that's an interesting twist, right? Because
Yeah.
he's championing Filipino identity, and you're helping redo a very historical mansion. Because
Yeah.
I think this is a thrust. I mean, it's not only the Leperel mansion, Goldenberg. You've got all these, historical homes and buildings that are being redone for the benefit of our countrymen,
Yes.
right? So that's a major honor, right?
Yeah.
But did you incorporate like trends that you're seeing globally into your design mix?
Yes, I think that follows, particularly my process is, I work with the space, with the requirement, with the story of the space. But at the same time, if it permits, if the client permits, I bring in new technology, so new materials, because
Yeah.
especially at this time and age wherein you have a variety or a wide selection of material. So you have to choose it carefully to make sure that it's easy for the client to use, it's easy to maintain. In other words, it's adaptable to the contemporary.
Yeah. Let's
setting.
dive a little deeper than that, because I had a guest recently talking about architecture. Of course, he's an architect, and there are the different movements. You had the
Yes.
Zen movement, then you had the Thai movement, then you've got the Scandinavian movement, you've
Yeah.
even got the Balinese movement,
Yeah.
and until recently, the Filipino movement. Do you agree with the trend, or what do you see putting forward in the next projects that you've got?
Of course, the trends are there to guide, to guide us. It's a guide to the designer, it's a guide to the users, and for the manufacturing industry, so that, it's sort of, it's really a reference. But, at the end of the day, like me, my training is to work. I started with retail, hospitality, and then for a time, I strengthened my technical background by working as a project manager.
Wow,
And-
that's important, huh?
Yeah, so-
Interior designer and project manager. That's two of the hardest things to put together.
Correct. It's hard, but it's where I learned how to construct, and I learned it enhanced my technical abilities. And then so recently, I've been switching back to a lot of creative work, and I know that I have evolved as well.
Yes.
In other words, my process is not the usual. You get into a firm and then you just do this and all that stuff. Me, I'm the type that if I do something and I've done it well, I get bored, I move to the next thing,
Yes.
then I learn something. So going back to the trends, it's a nice guide, but my process is to work with the client. So I always say this: we're like doctors for spaces. So
I like that.
I interview you, I listen to you, what you need, you tell me what you need, and then I diagnose. And then after the diagnosis, we come up with a solution. And like any doctors, there are different treatment plans.
Yes.
So there are different.
So can I call you Dr. Cecil Ravelas ID?
Yeah, well,
But
yeah.
talking about that, sorry to
Yeah.
cut you off, because
Yeah.
that you put something in my head that's very important. Obviously, you talked about hospitality and being able to, diagnosing the space,
Yes.
right? Obviously, you've done a lot of hospitality spaces. How is design and interiors driving markets? What's the importance of design? Does it make or break the space for business?
Oh, yes.
So how?
Yes. In fact, I used to teach also, and I would always say, especially if you're in hospitality and if it's a commercial, a brand commissions you to do a space according to certain standards. Sometimes, like what I really enjoy is to work with white labels. We call it white label, meaning we do the research, we create the story for the brand, we create the experience, and I love it because coming from a production theater background, I love creating new stories for the client. And doing that, you have to zero in on your market. I always tell the client, in fact, I have a client who's my friend, I say, I know what you want, I know what you need, but this is the market you're targeting. And I have to remind them, you're not the market of our property.
Yeah,
So-
but does it become a afterthought into your design? when, of course, you're spending, let's say, 1 billion pesos to put up a hotel, 2 billion, 3 billion. Does interior design, because in the past, it was an afterthought.
Yeah.
I build it, the architect is the superstar, and then let's go call the interior designer, and then make it pretty, as opposed to functionality.
Yeah. But in the recent years, no longer like that.
Okay.
So, the client, the industry has evolved. And in fact, now it's really like a multidisciplinary approach. So like, there are two schools of thought. So if you're a designer or a creative, so then you can do into graphics, you get into multimedia, especially when you're talking about immersion. So in the practice for doing hotels, it's good when the designer and the architect is already there from day one of conceptualization. You know why? Because then there's already a synchronized effort. The brand story is laid out, the plan is integrated, and so everything that is drawn, everything that is bidded out, everything that's built is intentional.
It's cohesive.
It's cohesive.
Yes.
Instead of, I come in towards the end and then I said, this cannot be the ballroom because you have all these things.
But Cecil, we'll get back to that.
Yeah.
We're going to take a quick break. Industry Beacon, we'll be right back. Stay with us. We're back. You're still watching Industry Beacon here on BNC. And still with us is interior designer Cecil Ravelas. So Cecil, before the break, we were talking about hospitality and, how cohesive an architect and an interior designer should work together to bring out the perfect brand, right?
Correct.
Because, of course, again, you're investing billions, hundreds of millions and billions of pesos into a property, right?
Yeah.
And you need to make it work. Gone are the days when you're the, I think customers now, or guests, tourists in particular, are more attuned to the experience. Yeah,
Correct.
rather than going to, okay, this is a hotel chain that I've always gone to, my parents have been there.
Correct.
And you know exactly what the look is. But
Yeah.
is it still your make to do these things, or have you evolved as a person as well?
It still is. In fact, that is still the main core. In fact, we're about to start on a new property in Boracay. But over the years, I've also, I've evolved in the sense that, you've reached a certain point wherein you want to do something purposeful.
Yes.
And I think I've shared that with you in one. I've been from the hospitality. I started realizing I've been doing a lot of resort, and then I got into wellness, and then spas. And so when I was doing that, I got exposed to a lot of meditation work, soul journey. So in doing so, without me realizing, my work has also been evolving. Clients would say, like for the homes I do, you know what? The bedroom or the house you did for me, I like going home to my bedroom. I feel so relaxed. I feel
It's their safe space.
It's a safe space. And I think, especially after the pandemic, during pandemic, because I was involved in hospitality, so my initial reaction, oh my God, the hotels are on hold. So what are we going to do?
Yes.
And at the time, I wasn't doing any residential because, early on I was doing it as a young designer, but I was arrogant and I said, oh my God, if you don't like my work, I don't want to do. But when I grew older and by chance also...
Well, you kind of earned it. I mean, you do design for the top families of the Philippines. I mean, I will not mention who they are. I might get in trouble. But, these are, people with a lot of resources.
Yeah.
And you have the right to say no.
Yes. But that was, in fact, that was... by accident. It was serendipity, like one project. That's how you start, eh. You do one house, and then somebody likes it, and then you get referred to it, And
ripple effect, yeah.
And I think what was common, and then on the side, I was like doing institutions, like chapels, churches, retreat houses. As I just wanted to do it as a CSR, but then over time, I discovered that a common thing, because people would say, what's the look of your space? I said, parang none, kasi I'm trained to work with the need, with the brand and all. But I think what is very intentional for me is try to create that experience of, it blends well, it's harmonized, it's safe. So like for the homes I do, they say, I like coming home. Like and when I hear those things, I get kilig. So a client goes, I don't leave the house now because you've done it so well. I entertain in the house. I know. And
so
then when
it's
they
all
enter,
about the wellness idea for you.
Yeah. So when I start,
mind, body, and soul in your living space.
yes. And when I did that, and I guess it came with the aging process. So, when you're already mature enough as a designer,
Yes.
as a person, and when you're, in a journey, a spiritual journey, it comes out. It's coming out in my work.
Yeah, this is interesting. I mean, give or take, studies show that the wellness industry is a $3 trillion industry. I've got to check my facts, okay?
Yeah.
But that's what I've read. And you're getting into that. And this is important because I would say that you're one of the first few people I've spoken about regarding wellness spaces.
Yeah.
What's your dream? How do you want to put it forward?
I've been developing, in fact now, I can't disclose it, but I'm working with different groups now who are also in the wellness trend. And what was very clear, I said, I like to do it, I want it to be intentional project. So I think purpose driven. And I said, if I work on this project, it has to be someone who also shares that energy, that it's not just about doing a space for the money, but you want to create a difference. So
Do you think that will be a trend?
I think so, especially because after post-pandemic, everybody is more conscious about their health. Like before the pandemic, it was so hard to get approval for a budget for a simple sofa or a bed, because they think, why am I paying so much for a bed or for a sofa when you can get, this much. But then they realize, I spend so much time, during pandemic, we spend so much time at home, and wow, I need to invest on something comfortable and something that I can really sit on for a long time.
Talking about that, Cecil, we've got a lot of artisans here in the Philippines, mainly in Pampanga and Cebu, for furniture. These are like the hot spots.
Yes.
Do you think that our designers and manufacturers here, notwithstanding obviously the design factor, I mean we can obviously put it and exhibit it around the world.
Yes.
But do you think
we're very creative?
Yes, but do you think it's mature enough for the world to look at and bring on the global stage? What's needed, rather?
Support.
Support. All right.
Infrastructure, support. I think it's not that we're lacking artisans, we do. But they need a business owner or an entrepreneur, or, like the cottage, and they need support in terms of policies, in terms of, providing them logistics. But like, if somebody would do an exhibit in Paris for Maison, it's a bit costly. So that's where, government steps in, DTI or SITEM provides a certain subsidy to promote these furniture designers.
Do you think it's a dying
designers.
industry?
No, it's just that it's not consistent.
Is it on a ventilator?
On a ventilator. There was a time. It is dying in the sense that there was a time wherein there would be a separate trade show in Cebu and in Manila. That was like the height. And Cebu was exporting to to Europe and to the US. But of course, economically, Asian crisis happened. A lot of things happened, and then China boomed. So we lost a lot to China in terms of labor. And seeing all the factories, we cannot compete talaga with the industrialization. We don't have the machinery, we don't have the resource, we don't have subsidies from the government to operate a factory.
Yes.
However, we have the talent. We're really creative. We're resourceful. We're very good at working with indigenous material. And, we're talking about a sustainable environment.
I love that, yeah.
And it's inherent to us. We're experiencing typhoon.
Yes.
So when we build something, or, whether it's a furniture or a house, it's designed, it's attuned to the environment. So we work with
I'm gonna watch out.
Materials.
Yeah, I'm gonna watch out what you can come up with regarding that. Second to the last question. What's your dream project?
Shucks, that's a hard question. My dream project, and I keep on saying this, is to be able to work with the community. You know, that dream of a sustainable community wherein it's happening, but kasi it's not collective eh. You know, wherein the artisans are producing what is being used in the immediate community. So they're living a house wherein the materials are inherent from the area and produced by the community.
That's beautiful. And last question, very quickly. What's your biggest mistake?
Shoot, dami ata. Parang ang dami, hard to. I think, you know, not biggest. Even when I have had mistakes when I was young, wherein I was so focused on certain parameters.
Yes.
Yeah. And
Making a mark.
making a mark. You're so focused on that. And so parang in a way, you're also keeping your voice.
Yes.
Parang you silence yourself because you're conforming. But then you're in a creative industry, you cannot conform. So like, you know, it takes a certain age and maturity. Eh. So now I'm brave enough to tell the brands now, you know, why don't we try like this?
Yes.
Before, I was like, okay, so what's your brand? And then it becomes, you know, even if you're in the creative industry or creative work, you can also find yourself in a template, especially when you're working with brand standard. Now, this is the look you have to make. So parang you're not doing anything anymore. That's
But I
why,
don't think it's a big mistake. I think it's a nice way for you to be where you are right now.
Yeah. In
And I'm
fact-
proud of you, and I champion your development.
Thank you.
Thank you so much,
Thank
Cecil,
you,
for being
thank you.
with
Thank
us
you for
today.
listening to me.
1,000%. And that is for today. For today's show, I'm Ferdi Salvador. Catch the Bilyonaryo News channel on Free TV Channel 31 and on cable via Cignal Channel 24. Thanks for watching the Bilyonaryo News channel, always on top.